Boa tarde, good afternoon. I wish to welcome the Czech Minister of Foreign Affairs, my colleague and good friend Tomáš Petříček, in his visit to Lisbon. It's a very important visit, an opportunity to exchange views, to share information, and also to assess jointly the situation in Europe and in international relations. This visit is very important in the context of the preparation of the Portuguese presidency of the Council of the European Union. The Czech Republic and Portugal, being in different geographical regions of Europe, share the same pro-European attitude and the same will to reach the compromises and consensus that are needed to improve the European project. In terms of bilateral relations, we have excellent relations from the point of view of political and diplomatic reference. We have strong and improving cultural relations, and in terms of economy, we have room to improve. It was very important that this visit could include a business forum that took place this morning in the Business Confederation in Portugal with the presidents of the Industry Confederation of the Czech Republic. A memorandum of understanding was signed between the two entrepreneurial associations and the two public agencies for investment and trade, the Portuguese ICEP and the Czech Invest, also worked in a very close way. So we think that a new room was opened for the improvement of the economic relations between Czechia and Portugal. For instance, Czechia belongs to the top 25 of the trade partners of Portugal, but of course it has to go up in this ranking, and there are all conditions to do that. I already said this morning that the Czech Republic is also an example for Portugal in economic terms, because it is a very export-oriented economy and a very industrialized one. And of course, these are two goals of the economic policy of Portugal, to be more export-oriented and to have an solid industrial ground for our economy. In terms of the European agenda, we discussed the priorities of the Portuguese presidency, and we also discussed the ways by which we can conclude the approval of the multi-annual financial framework and of the recovery fund. We are about to conclude this process. The agreement between European leaders was reached in July. Last week, the European Parliament and the Council reached the necessary agreement, and now it's time to ensure the national ratifications by the constitutionally appropriated bodies in every member state, and we have to unblock urgently some of the tricky things, some of the difficulties that we are still facing, in order that by the beginning of next year, Europe can have all the financial funds and all the instruments that we all need to boost the economic recovery and transformation of our continent. Peter, please. Tomáš.
I'm Petříček, small picture in Czech. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank Augusto, my friend, for the hospitality we have been given in Lisbon today. As was said already by my colleague, our countries have traditionally very strong and good relations. We celebrated this year 100th anniversary of establishment of our economic and diplomatic relations after the World War I. Unfortunately, the pandemic situation didn't allow us to properly celebrate this. I hope that we will be able to have more time for celebrations during the Portuguese presidency of the European Union. We have discussed many bilateral issues, starting from cultural cooperation, cooperation in terms of trade and investment. I'm glad that over the past 2 years, in 2018 and 19, the trade volume exceeded 1 billion euros, and we hope that after the pandemic is overcome, we will soon recover to the volume we were used to and further the potential of our economic cooperation. I believe that there are many areas, including transport, new technologies, medical equipment, and we don't want to focus only on our bilateral economic cooperation, but we discussed today about possibility of cooperating together in third countries. For example, in Africa, where both Portugal and Czechia share interest in strengthening our partnership with African countries, especially countries speaking Portugal. On cultural cooperation, I'm glad that the Czech Republic is observer to the group of Portugal-speaking countries. We have 5 universities where Portugal studies take place, and there is growing interest in learning Portuguese in my country. On European issues, we expressed our strong support to priorities of Portuguese presidency that will start at the beginning of January. We strongly support the intention of organizing a social summit because we need a stronger social Europe in order to overcome the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. We also support the quick agreement on both multi-annual financial framework, but also Next Generation EU. These are 2 key European instruments to speed up recovery and to allow Europe to keep competitiveness in global world, to introduce new technologies and to make our economy more digital and greener. Last but not least, we discussed also about foreign policies of our countries, our priorities. We discussed about Western Balkans, enlargement. We welcome the intention of the Portuguese presidency also to focus on relations with India, which is an important global player. And last but not least, even though Czech Republic is a Central European landlocked country, we would like to strongly cooperate with Portugal in Latin America and, as I said, in Africa, because these are 2 continents, 2 regions that require our attention, including strengthening economic cooperation between EU and these regions, especially through trade agreements such as with Mercosur. I would like to conclude by also adding that we hope for better coordination in Europe on not only economic recovery, but also on addressing the second wave we are now facing in all countries. I would like to appreciate all the support my country received recently from our European partners, and I hope that we will be able now to also coordinate better example, to allow for the free movement of people, in terms of better coordination of criteria and testing that is key for returning closer to the normal way of life in the whole European Union. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon from Portuguese News Agent Silva. I have two questions for both ministers. One regarding the multi-annual financial framework. If you expect a new delay in the final approval process, given the opposition voiced both by Hungary and Poland to the rule of law mechanism, after an agreement with the European Parliament had been reached. The other question is regarding Belarus. Do you support additional EU sanctions to the regime? And if so, do you expect its approval by the Council to be faster than the months that took to approve the first list of sanctions? Thank you.
Thank you. I still hope that we will reach the agreement on multi-annual financial framework and the next generation EU before the end of the year. It is crucial, both in terms of credibility of the European Union towards its citizens, but also it is necessary to tackle economic insecurity right now that is increasing in Europe. I hope our partners, both Poland and Hungary, will approach the discussion constructively, and I'm convinced that in a good tradition of the European way of finding compromise, we will find a way out of this stalemate. On Belarus, Czech Republic fully supports additions to the sanction list. We believe that this is a signal we need to send to the regime in Minsk. We have seen a lot of violence taking place in the streets of the Russian cities, and I cannot imagine that the EU would not be able to react to this. So we hope it will be faster than approving the first list in October.
Thank you very much. Also, I fully agree with my colleague on Belarus. The sanctions process in the European Union is by nature dynamic. So we sanction individuals, not societies, and we decide the sanctions on solid legal basis, arguments and proofs. And the situation in Belarus is not improving. On the contrary, is going worse. So the process of sanctioning the individuals who are responsible for this worsening has to continue, has to proceed. As fast as we can, as quick as it has to be. On the multi-annual financial framework and the EU next generation, it's indispensable to get them approved until the end of the year so that we can implement all the instruments and take profits of all the funds that are necessary by the beginning of next year. It is very, very important that the regulations can be approved and the programs that constitute the MFF can be in place by the beginning of next year. And it's very important that the process of negotiating and approving the national plans for recovery and resilience can take place during the first semester of 2021. To do that, we need to conclude the approval of both the instruments. The most difficult part is done, the agreement in the European Council. Then it is also done the indispensable part of getting the approval of the European Parliament, and this was done with a very important contribution or under the important leadership of the German presidency. We fully support the proposal of the German presidency in what considers the connection between the rule of law and the financial dimension of European Union. So we expect that our friends from Hungary and Poland can have a positive attitude and can contribute to the unanimous ratification of the instrument on the own resources that is now needed. And we expect that this can be done until the end of this year. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Qatar.
Obrigado.